My mother pressured me to donate to the sister who slept with my boyfriend, but testing revealed the explosive affair she hid for decades. My sister Serafina has been suffering from kidney failure for almost 6 months. At first she was doing okay. She was undergoing treatments and holding on while waiting for a kidney transplant. However, things have recently gotten worse. Her health has deteriorated, and doctors now believe she requires a kidney transplant very away. Because of this, my mother has asked me to be tested to determine whether I am a match for Serafina so that I can give one of my kidneys to her. To be honest, I'm unsure how I feel about it. I have a lot of conflicting feelings about this. Serafina and I do not have a close relationship. Actually, we haven't had a relationship in several years. Growing up, she made my life difficult. It seemed like she went out of her way to make me unhappy. In school, I was frequently bullied by other students. I was little for my age, rather nerdy, and struggled with my weight. All of this made me a prime target for bullies. They used to tease me about my appearance, call me terrible names, and steal my lunch money on a regular basis. There were even a few instances where things were violent and I ended up getting banged up. That's when my teacher intervened and informed my parents about the situation. My folks thought Serafina could help me. Serafina is only a year older than myself, and we attended the same school, so she was there for all of those difficult years when I was bullied. But instead of standing up for me or trying to help, she did nothing to improve the situation. In reality, she made matters worse. She actually sided with my bullies. Serafina would tell them personal facts about me, such as what I wore at home and how few friends I had. She ensured that they had all of the ammunition they needed to make me feel even smaller than I already did. She would occasionally join forces with my bullies to gang up on me over lunchtime. They'd laugh at me, mock me, and keep pressing until I cried. I felt totally alone. I couldn't understand why my own sister, who was supposed to have my back, was so harsh. When I told our parents that Serafina was bullying me, she pretended to be completely innocent. She told them I was lying, and that I was either confused or overreacting. Despite my objections, my parents believed her. They encouraged me to stop blaming her and instead ignore the real bullies. It was extremely frustrating since, despite my own sister bullying me, no one believed me. Nobody saw what I was going through. When I finished and went to college, I expected my life to improve because my bullies were no longer there. I hoped to start afresh, and for a while, I did. College seemed like a fresh start. I even met someone special. Damien, my first boyfriend. He was pleasant and polite, and I adored him. I brought him home to meet my family, and my parents also liked him. However, Serafina's reaction was different. Serafina seems overjoyed to meet him, rather than simply courteous. Throughout dinner she flirted with my boyfriend in ways that made me uncomfortable. She made improper comments about his appearance, pointing out his large biceps and muscular chest as if it were a joke. At first I attempted to dismiss it, assuming she didn't recognize how she was acting. But as time went on, it became evident that she didn't care. She was plainly interested in my partner and was attempting to grab his attention. To make matters worse, I later discovered that Serafina had tracked Damien down on social media without my knowledge and sent him messages expressing her want to meet up with him. She did it behind my back. When I learned about it, I immediately confronted Damien. I completely expected him to block her and prevent any contact with her. He assured me that he had done exactly that, and I believed him. I trusted him. But as time went on, I noticed that he got increasingly aloof and secretive with me. What I didn't realize at the time was that Damien had not blocked Serafina at all. Instead, he began meeting up with my sister in private. They weren't simply speaking, they were also having regular sexual encounters. I had no idea about any of this until one of my close friends from college saw them together. She saw Damien and Serafina in his car, acting like a couple, and immediately came to tell me what she had seen. Hearing the facts felt like a strike to the belly. For months, I got the impression that something was awry. I couldn't describe it, but I got a gut feeling Damien wasn't being truthful with me. When I brought it up, however, he would gaslight me. He'd call me insane for being suspicious and say I was dreaming things. He made me feel like my uncertainties were hurting our relationship. But as my pal confirmed everything, I understood my instincts were correct all along. Damien had cheated on me. The most painful part was that, of all the people he could have betrayed me with, it was my own sister. As you may guess, when I met Serafina, everything exploded. We had a big fight, and I informed her how she had practically crossed the line by becoming connected with Damien. How could she be so desperate to get engaged with the guy I was seeing? However, Serafina exhibited no remorse. None. She doubled down and boasted about her accomplishments. She really boasted about sleeping with Damien before me, as if it were some sort of accomplishment for her. There was no apology from her end. This is why I raised the subject with our parents. I told them everything. How upset I was, how badly Serafina had hurt me, and how this was about more than simply Damien. It was about her betrayal as my sister. My father was appalled and plainly saddened by what he heard. But my mother's reaction was different. She said she didn't believe me and insisted on talking to Serafina and hearing the whole story before deciding who to support. Her response startled me. What kind of story could there possibly be? The facts were plain. My sister had sex with my boyfriend. What else did they need to know? I felt entirely unsupported and invalidated, as if my feelings and pain were irrelevant. Even when my mother spoke with Serafina, she supported my sister over me. She told me that Serafina claimed to be in love with Damien and that the only reason she did what she did was because she believed Damien was the right person for her. I couldn't believe what I heard. I sneered, telling my mother how stupid that excuse sounded. How could Serafina possibly justify her conduct in this manner? But my mother's remark startled me even more. Instead of addressing my agony, she responded, "Well, maybe this guy wasn't meant for you. Maybe he and your sister would be happier with each other. I mean, he was too good looking for you anyway. Next time, settle for someone who's more on your level. Then maybe he won't cheat on you." I was taken aback. It wasn't only that she backed Serafina, it felt like she was blatantly blaming me for being cheated on, as if I had brought it on myself simply by dating someone attractive. Was she truly implying I didn't deserve to be with someone handsome? Should I have settled for someone less attractive to prevent being hurt? Until that point, I knew my mother preferred Serafina. There were hints over the years that Serafina was receiving more praise, attention, and understanding. However, I had always convinced myself that my mother still loved me in her own way. Deep down, I hoped that she hadn't completely overlooked me. But after that chat, it was as if a switch flipped. I understood how mistaken I had been. My mother's statements made it plain that she loved my sister more than me. To his credit, my father chastised Serafina little for what she had done, but it was insufficient to make a significant difference. Despite his initial outrage, he ultimately supported my sister. My parents seemed more inclined to forgive Serafina's betrayal than to defend me. Their reactions made me feel insignificant, unimportant, and unsupported. So, after everything had transpired, I decided to cut off all three of them: Serafina, my mother, and my father. I informed my parents that Serafina may have my ex because, in my opinion, they both were garbage and deserved to be together. I also made it obvious to my parents that by siding with Serafina, they had demonstrated how little they respected me. Their acts and words made it impossible for me to trust or feel loved by them again. I informed them that I was done with all of them. My parents attempted to persuade me otherwise, but their arguments were ineffective. They didn't put up a battle to retain me in their life, which further strengthened my decision. Since then, I've maintained a distance from my family. I seldom spoke with any of them, except for the occasional update I received from distant relatives with whom I still communicate. I learned a few years ago that Serafina had married my ex. Yes, it was the same ex who had taken from me. I was disgusted that she was still with him and had not found someone better for herself. It also reaffirmed that I had made the correct decision by cutting ties with someone who had brought me so much anguish. Anyway, I now live my own life. I'm married to a beautiful man, and we've created a secure and happy life together. I also have a fantastic job that I am proud of. We are content, and I no longer think about my family. So imagine my astonishment when, early this week, I received a brief email from my mother. She requested me to call her since there was a family emergency. I hesitated at first, but ultimately decided to contact her back. When I did, I learned what the emergency was. It was regarding my sister's current health state. I had already heard about Serafina's kidney failure from several of our family, so the news wasn't particularly shocking. What surprised me, however, was my mother's plea. She asked if I wanted to get tested to determine whether I was a potential kidney match for Serafina. I told my mother that I'd think about it and let her know. I honestly don't want to. But here's the main issue. My paternal grandparents have become involved. They are aware of our family status, and despite my decision to cut off contact with my parents, my grandparents have always been present and supportive. My grandparents say there is no danger in me being tested. They say that if I'm not a match, it's no problem. But if I am a match, I may take my time deciding whether or not to donate my kidney to my sister. Obviously they want to help. But I am quite uneasy with the scenario. I'm concerned that if I'm a match, my family will put additional pressure on me to donate my kidney. I don't want to feel pressured or guilty for doing something I'm unsure about. My grandparents are extremely important to me, and I do not want to risk losing their support and love as a result of this difficult decision. So Reddit, am I the evil person if I choose not to be tested? Update 1. My mother contacted me again, begging me to get tested to see if I might help my sister. This wasn't the first time she'd brought it up, but I couldn't keep ignoring it or giving her ambiguous replies. I decided to be fully honest, so I informed her right away that I was unwilling to do it. I emphasized that I didn't want to get involved with my sister at all, and that was my final decision. I figured being direct might make her back off, or at least give her a clear image of where I stood. But instead of recognizing or respecting my emotions, she pushed harder. She told me she expected me to step up and aid my sister, regardless of how I felt about her. In her eyes, it made no difference what I believed I desired. My sister deserved a chance at life, and it appears that I was the one who had to give it to her. Then she said something that stung. She informed me, "My life isn't worth much anyway." I couldn't believe she was saying that, so I asked her to explain. Her reply was even more upsetting. She told me that Serafina's life is more precious than mine since she has a kid, whilst I do not. She made it apparent that she thought Serafina's status as a mother made her more important than me. My mother seemed to believe that because I didn't have children, my life was less valuable, and that it was my responsibility to do anything I could to assist Serafina survive for the sake of her child. In her mind, my worth was irrelevant. It was all about Serafina and her needs. As if dealing with my mother wasn't difficult enough, my father has now reached out to me. He asked me to be tested and instructed me to do so for him. He stated that Serafina might die without a transplant and cautioned me that if I didn't find out if I was a match, I'd regret it for the rest of my life. His remarks made it plain that he was putting the weight of Serafina's survival and my future feelings on my shoulders, as if I had the ability to change everything and would be making a huge mistake if I refused. Update 2. I was put to the test despite my best judgment. However, before you all turn on me in the comments, I have something really intriguing to share. Despite my doubts and the emotional weight of the situation, I went ahead and took the test just to get everyone off my back. Part of me felt that I was doing it for my grandparents. They had always been there for me, and I didn't want to let them down. But, deep down, I needed some clarity, and I hoped that the test findings would help settle things one way or another. The results came in, and they revealed two startling truths. First and foremost, I was not a suitable match for my sister. That in itself was a relief. I wouldn't have to face the terrible dilemma of donating my kidney to someone who had caused me so much anguish. It felt like I'd been let off the hook for something that had been weighing heavy on my mind. But the second surprise was completely unexpected. My genetic markers did not match my father's. The results revealed that the man I'd always named Dad wasn't my biological father. When I initially read the results, I felt as if the ground had been pulled out from beneath me. I was already coping with the emotional strain of my family's expectations, but now this entirely unexpected bombshell had been placed on me. It clarified so much, all the times I felt like an outsider in my own family. However, it was also heartbreaking. The revelation sent shockwaves through the family, resulting in a whole new level of drama that my mother had definitely not anticipated. My father was devastated. He had no idea I wasn't his biological child, and the betrayal hurt him deeply. He's the type of man who has always prioritized family over anything else, and learning that my mother had kept such a massive secret from him was a shattering blow. I could see the hurt in his eyes. Despite all, he is the one who raised me, gave me his name and identity as his daughter, just to discover that I do not even belong to him. My mother, on the other hand, was taken completely off guard. She had spent so much time urging me to help Serafina that she had obviously not considered the prospect of this coming to light. Now she's scrambling to explain herself and deal with the ramifications. For me, the finding feels like both a betrayal and a bizarre sense of clarity. It clarifies a lot about how I've been handled over the years, but it also raises other doubts. Who is my biological father? Why did my mom keep this from me and my father for so long? Where should I go from here? Did my mother hide this hidden from him too? Could my true father be out there enjoying his life unknowing that he has a daughter, or did he know but choose to stay away? These questions have been rushing through my head non-stop, and they simply add to the craziness of what is going on right now. My paternal grandparents have also learned about the test results, and they are upset. They've always adored me as their granddaughter, and this news has hit them hard. They are demanding answers from my mother, just as my father is. But rather than confronting the matter head-on, my mother has completely shut down. She refuses to speak to anyone about it. When I contacted her directly, looking for clarification, she had the arrogance to imply that the test findings were incorrect. Do you trust her audacity? Despite everything, she continued to deny the undeniable. I told her that the results couldn't be inaccurate, but she insisted on pretending it never happened. Her response had me stunned. She professed to be as horrified as I was after discovering the truth. But her tone made it plain she was attempting to brush everything under the rug. The arrogance of her comments hurt more than I can express. How could she expect me to act as if this life-changing discovery was insignificant? How did she think she could hide the truth and escape the consequences of her actions? It appears that she is more concerned with keeping her image and avoiding accountability than with the agony she has caused in my father, grandparents, and me. Her inability to accept responsibility, her insistence that this is all a mistake that we should simply disregard, exacerbates my hurt and fury toward her. The revelation has flipped my world upside down. I've always felt like an outcast in my family, and now I know why. However, understanding the explanation does not make the pain go away. I will provide an update as soon as I receive further information. Update 3. The issue has only worsened. My dad has chosen to divorce my mother. I never believed my parents' marriage would end, but with everything that has transpired, I can't blame him. He's heartbroken by the truth, betrayed in ways I can't begin to comprehend. His entire existence with my mother, and the family they created, has been based on falsehoods. It's heartbreaking to realize that this is the end of something that was once a source of trust and affection for him. My mother, after days of pressure from my father, grandparents, and the rest of the family, finally gave in and told us all the truth. I'm not sure if it was guilt, the weight of continual probing, or simply the inevitable truth catching up with her, but she eventually spoke up. It turns out she had an affair with her personal trainer shortly before becoming pregnant with me. She'd been seeing him behind my father's back. The affair lasted only a few weeks. My mother ended it, confident that no one would ever find out. But when she became pregnant with me, she never considered whether I was genuinely my father's child. She just assumed I was. After I was born, she never checked. There were no tests or questions, simply the assumption that everything was good. My mother felt I was her and my father's child, so she went on with her life. But the truth is that I wasn't. My entire life, all the events I thought marked my relationship with her and with my father, now feel like a lie. She never questioned the notion that I was not my father's child. Instead of admitting her error, she hid it for decades in the hope that it would never be discovered. The way things has played out has been quite strange. My mother was the one who urged me to be tested for my sister, and now everything has come crumbling down around her. She caused her own tragedy by lying, having an affair, and keeping secrets. None of this would have happened if she hadn't kept on testing me and pushed me to help Serafina. But I guess God intended me to learn the truth about this. I am pleased I was tested now. Mom is dealing with the aftermath from it all, and she deserves it. My father is heartbroken. My grandparents are outraged at Mom. They all feel deceived and want nothing to do with her anymore. Even my maternal grandparents, with whom I have always had a distant relationship, feel ashamed of what my mother did. They can't believe she's kept such a huge secret from us for so long. Since Mom's revelation, everyone around me, who had never truly cared about me before, has developed a strong sympathy for me. Even distant cousins with whom I hadn't spoken in years have contacted me to check in. It's bizarre, almost as if they're all attempting to compensate for years of indifference or avoidance. But while their sympathy is appreciated, it does not alter the fact that my life has been utterly turned upside down. My mom has lost everything. My father has kicked her out of the house and she now lives in a motel. She's contacted me several times, asking for money and other assistance, but I can't bring myself to give her much. I despise her for hiding things from me. It's as if the more I think about all she's done, the harder it is to have pity for her. My father is currently speaking with a lawyer about the divorce process. I can't imagine what it must be like for him. He's a man who has always prioritized family above everything else. And yet here he is, cleaning up the pieces of a life shattered by my mother's actions. There is a strong probability that my mother will not receive alimony due to her betrayal. No family, no money, and no support. It is almost poetic justice. Mom is reaping the repercussions of her decisions. And while that may sound harsh, I don't have much pity for her at this point. Now, to my sister's situation. She clearly still needs a kidney. My parents are not suitable candidates for donation owing to their own health difficulties, and her time period is shortening. After everything that had happened, I felt the desire to visit her. With all of the drama surrounding my mother's infidelity and the ramifications in our family, I wasn't sure how much time Serafina had left. I needed to go see her, even if it was just to say goodbye. When I saw her, I was shocked by how frail and exhausted she appeared. Her situation was plainly affecting her physically and mentally. Serafina startled me by apologizing for our past, which I never expected from her. She seems genuinely surprised by the truth of our mother's affair. We both agreed that Mom's insistence on getting me to take the test was ridiculous. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed between me and Serafina, as if she hadn't bullied me, and we truly enjoyed spending time together. We talked for a few minutes, but I couldn't stay long. Serafina wanted me to meet her kid and ex, who were on their way to see her, but I knew I wasn't prepared to face them, particularly my ex. I still needed time to comprehend everything. The emotions were simply too much for me to bear. I feel a lot better about Serafina after that talk. I no longer harbor any hatred toward her. Despite our history, despite everything that has transpired, I sincerely hope that she and her family will make it through this. I want her to find peace and obtain the help she requires. Update number 4. It's been 3 months since I last gave you an update on all that has happened. Much has changed. First and foremost, my parents are now officially divorced. My father has been focusing on reconstructing his life, while my mother has been attempting to pull things together in her own manner. Though it is evident that she has lost so much, her family, her credibility, and her sense of security. She still lives alone and has been virtually abandoned by the rest of the family. She tried to contact me several times, but I blocked her. I don't care what she does anymore. I've realized that I need to go on with my life, regardless of what happened to hers. Serafina's wonderful news is that she has discovered a kidney match. Everyone, including myself, is relieved that she will finally get the treatment she requires. She's gone through a lot, and I know this transplant will give her a new opportunity in life. I am not sure if we will ever be close again, but I'm happy for her and hope she recovers well. I've also accepted that I will never know my biological father. My mother has refused to give up his name, and I am no longer concerned. Initially, it bothered me. The not knowing, the wondering who he was, if he knew anything about me, and how my life would have been different if he had been there. But now I know it doesn't matter. The answers aren't coming, and I've realized that it's fine to leave some questions unsolved. I can't spend my life chasing someone who isn't in my life right now. My hubby has been my rock throughout this. He helped me in ways I never thought possible. Throughout every emotional breakdown, he stood by my side, giving me strength I didn't know I possessed. Slowly, I've understood that I don't need to look for my biological father to feel complete. I have a fantastic life now, full of love and pleasure. My marriage, my work, and the life we're creating together provide all I need. I don't want to think about the past or let it hold me back anymore.